Welcome. This podcast is a series of candid conversations exploring the human experience from a completely new perspective. In it, we will be diving deeply into the meaning of commonly used words and pointing you away from that old stressful way of looking at life and towards a new paradigm. This will help you find a sense of calm, cultivate meaningful relationships, and create harmony in every aspect of your life. Here is Navigating Life with Ease with Michaela, Ellis and Clare, Downham.
Hey, good day, Clare.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Good.
Good.
Do you
Good.
have a word for me?
I do indeed, and it is personality.
Ooh. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that mine has changed a lot over the last few years of coming across this understanding. I feel like I'm quite a different person in so many different ways in lots of different contexts. So I guess because of that, I'm kind of feeling the looseness of the idea that it exists as a solid thing, I think years and years ago people just said, didn't they, like once the child gets to 7, there's a quote, isn't it, something like, show me the child at 7 and I'll show you the man, and I can't remember who said it, but there's a quote a bit like that which basically says, once you get to about 7 years old, that's it really, you kind of done for, and that's how you're going to be for the rest of your life. But I really see now, and I used to probably believe that, and I think over the years I see that falling away. And I suppose first of all it went through that kind of self-development thing of, well, this is how I see myself, appears to be my personality. Bits of it are a bit iffy and dodgy and I don't really like them, so what shall I do about them? It was all about the doing of changing my beliefs and changing my behavior and changing, managing my feelings better, and just a lot of management and a lot of doing, a lot of poking around in the past in order to fix my apparently broken personality. And I think coming into this 3 principles sort of inside out conversation, gradually I've seen things just fall away. So my reactivity to things has become less prominent. My harshness on myself has become a heck of a lot prominent. And so it seems that there's been an unlearning of things that I thought were true, but not by that old self-development sort of directly, I've got to fix me. It's sort of more been like looking to the truth of my experience and understanding that better. These bits of my personality have just fallen away without me needing to do anything at all specifically about them, rather than before, which was all about what's wrong with me, what do I do about it? So I think the impermanence is probably the word that connects now for me when I think about personality. And it isn't a set thing, either in that kind of long-term way or even in the kind of moment-to-moment way. Like, nobody is something all the time. We're all different, aren't we, depending on what mood we're in. I know I can be a bit of a I don't know what word is, but I can be a bit of a pain when I'm in a bad mood, in a low mood. I remember, or maybe earlier this summer, it was such a long summer, it probably was this year, going out for an afternoon out with a friend and having cocktails, and the next day being an absolute cow to Bruce. There's no nicer way to put it. My mood was, because I don't drink very often, having like quite during the session, I didn't feel particularly session. It's a proper sesh. I had a proper sesh. During that sesh, I didn't feel particularly drunk or anything, but the next day my mood was absolutely in in a hole. It was always awful. I was so critical. I was so nitpicky. I probably should have just stayed in my room for the whole day, away from other humans. And it took me till maybe the middle of the day to realize that I was in such a low mood, because when you're in a low mood, there seems to be a different personality. You know, your mood really affects how you show up, what you think is true, how you feel. It's all of those things. And to keep the alcohol thing going, it's a bit like drinking. That it's really funny, because Bruce and I were talking about this morning, and talking about how, we both used to drink a lot more when we were younger, and how, alcohol tends to make people more of who they already are. If you start drinking, you're in a low mood, that aspect of your personality will come out more. If you're drinking and you're already like happy, and I'm generally quite happy and a bit humorous, and then fall asleep, and when I get drunk I just do that a lot faster, go through the I'm like ridiculously silly and giggly, and then fall asleep much earlier than normal, and that makes it really, really early. So, and that, and money as well, I think, is a bit like that with personality. Like, I think I definitely had a limiting belief about rich people are generally evil, and yes, people who are in the public eye, there are quite a lot of quite unpleasant looking rich people, and that kind of is something I thought, and then I realized that that isn't true. It just makes you more of who you already are. Alcohol, money, whatever, moods, the personality isn't this solid thing. It kind of depends what side of the bed we get out of, really. And then long term, there can be this falling away. So that's a little start for 10.
Yeah, really good. I could say ditto to a lot of that, but yeah, I do see that it is changeable. It is something that is conditioned sort of into us based on our experiences, going back to our early formative years, when we're absorbing everything, and we learn a lot of things. We maybe interpret things in ways that leave a lasting effect and cause us to continue to do things, until at some point in our life we see that, oh, it doesn't make sense. I don't have to do this harsh thing in order to get attention. I can just be myself, and that will get me the attention actually in a much nicer way, or whatever, right? We all have things that, if we look at, why do I keep doing this, or why do I not do this, or whatever. And if there is, we don't have to look back. Just noticing that, is it something you really want to do? Then you can do it. And you might find some things that, wow, that I wasn't doing it because of this. Or it could be as simple as, well, no, I don't want to do it. I just think I should do it because others think I should do it, or whatever, right? So our personality, I do see that it can become a tangle of things that really, it's like it's like, it's like clothing. It's like wearing a mishmash of different colors and textures and stuff, and they can change. And there's something beneath that is sort of holding steadfast, holding steady, and allowing us to, it's like, well, what feels better? Does it feel better to do this, or be that, or act in that way, or does this feel better? So yeah, it is changeable. I just a comment about and that, yes, we can recognize. I just spent the weekend, 5 days, with 2 childhood, like lower school friends, and that we hadn't, 2 of us, the other 2 hadn't spoken in 48 years. They hadn't seen each other in 48 years. And for me, my one girlfriend, I met up with her after 25 years. And then the other two, we were, together on and off, not physically, just in touch. So it was interesting to see what was familiar. And it's like, oh, that's her. That was her. That was her. And I'm doing air quotes if you're listening to this. That was her so many years ago. It's like there was and I want to sort of parse it out, because it was an essence. It was like an essence of her, and just really engaging and engaged, and it's like, and then what's different? And things are different and things are similar. So it was really interesting to be a part of this and to see how our personalities mesh together after all these years, how it was then, and how it is now, and how it might be the next time. So yeah, just thinking about this personality and how changeable it is, that we're not stuck. We're not, this isn't us. And I actually, the whole alcohol thing, I actually don't, I believe that yes, it can sort of bring out more of who you are, but I think it can also, there's a reaction that happens that it can tap into something that really isn't you. And it feels like, I don't believe that, let's call it ugly drunks or ugly mean people. I think sometimes there can be a reaction that happens inside chemically that brings something out that really isn't. I think we all have a light and a dark. We have everything. We have everything possible to us. And some things, if there's a something that brings something out in us, we can even have that with people. Yes. Have you ever had someone who it's like, ooh, they bring this out in me? And it's like, yeah, okay. To me, that too, it's like a reaction. It's like a reaction of our two energies coming together. And in that reaction, this happens. And it's like, if it, looks like this is a repeat of something that doesn't go well, maybe that's someone who, isn't meant to be an everyday part of your life. you know we can talk about being influenced by people, kids growing up, and it's like, oh, I'm glad my kids have such great little friends, right? Thinking that then they will be a great, they're going to be a well-behaved, not get into too much trouble kind of thing. And it's like, that can have an effect, absolutely. But ultimately, anything and everything is available to each of us. And it's kind of a choice. It may not feel like a choice if we don't understand what's happening, if we don't understand how our thoughts can seem to tell us what to do, and that we don't have to listen to them, or we can listen to them. It's a choice. But until we understand it's a choice, it can feel like we have no choice about who we are and how we behave, which is kind of what makes up our personality. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an sort of an interesting idea, especially after this recent experience with so much time in between experiencing each other's personalities. It's like, yeah, there's been people who they bring out something in me. And it's like, and we know they don't bring it out. I have some thoughts. I have some meanings about maybe something they say, something they do, maybe something about their, their, in thinking about that, a thought that rich people are asked, or maybe you didn't say that, whatever you said, whatever you said about them, that, and it's like, yeah, it has nothing absolutely to do with them. It's just some meaning that we make about one tiny aspect of someone, and we sort of brush it all over them and say that's them. And really it's not. We are each so much more, and maybe in some cases so much less than what we make of each other. It's an interesting experiment that we're kind of, it's like we're in a big lab, and we're like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's like, what happens when I add more Clare to my life? What happens when I add more Michaela to my life? And is it good, or is it nah? You know, we're just a beaker. We're just a beaker happening in there.
I love that bit where you said that something about the we sort of slosh it all over them as if that's the person we're experiencing, as if that's a true personality. I remember in Steve Chandler's book Right Now, him talking about be more Dory. He said, Dory's a little fish in the Nemo film who's got a terrible memory. So every time she turns up in the scene, she turns up fresh and new to every single character, even though the previous scene they might have done something unpleasant or whatever. She's always like, hi, every single time she turns up completely with a blank mind about that other character. And we don't do that. We tend to bring our sackload of that. We carry that person's personality actually more than they do. Often we go into an interaction and we've got so many stories about that person that it doesn't really matter what they do. We'll notice what we already think is true about them because we're our belief, what personality we think somebody else has got is created in our belief system. And if we're believing those thoughts about them, that's the lens through which we will look at them, and we'll delete all the bits that are great about them and the things that we could, find in common, and we'll just notice the things we don't like. Bruce and I went to watch The Roses last night, which is a remake of a 1989 film called The War of the Roses. The book was called The War of the Roses. It's about a couple who are so much in love at the beginning, and at the end, not so much so. And you can really see that how their lens starts to decrease, and they stop seeing all the things that they loved about each other. And I remember going through that with my ex-husband. I said to Bruce this morning, that's what my relationship was like by the end. It was pretty. I mean, I didn't hold a gun up at him, but. Sorry, folks. But I did kind of, it was pretty bad, and that was because in the end I could not see a single thing about him that I still liked. And you can see in that film that's that their personalities are becoming through each other's eyes. Their personalities are getting smaller and smaller and smaller until all it is just the irritants, and all they see in each other is what irritates them about the other person. And so they cannot see anything good about the other person, anything well-meaning about the other person. It's just they've become this little narrow, tiny thing in each other's eyes. It's really interesting to see, because you sort of see the whole story from right at the beginning, when they absolutely adored each other, to the end where it's pretty grim. And we've all been there with relationships, haven't we? With, where they've started off looking like one personality, and by the end, our view of them that's the thing to see, is that we think it's them, and it isn't really. It's just this narrowing down of our viewpoint, almost, till all we can see is the crap about a person, the bits that personality we don't like. We don't see anything nice about them at all. I mean, like, even physically, I know that's not personal, but even physically we can just not even see the same person at all anymore, despite the fact they appeared to be somebody who we were lusting after, as well as in love with, at some point. Just nothing looks attractive in that person, does it? By the end, it's gone a bit ick. But the being more glory thing is that can we turn up fresh and new to each interaction? And I guess for me that's got to be about the feeling. You kind of touched on that earlier, that it's how we go into our interactions. Do we feel good? Do we start off already, like half an hour before the meeting, a bit like tense in our bodies, and already considering what terrible thing they're going to do, and they did this last time and the time before they did that, and I've had relationships where I've been like that, and it's not helpful.
Yeah.
But if we can settle into a good feeling first, and just realize that it's our mind going off into a story, perhaps we can go into these interactions with a little bit more peace, I suppose, and presence, really, to what's actually going on, rather than some story that we've created and some belief that we're believing in.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much more and less to us than what we believe. So much more possible. Yeah. And considering what we think about ourselves as well. Yeah.
That
And
could be
what's
a whole
possible.
other that could be a whole other episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's about how we see ourselves as well, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. Nice.
Good one.
Thank you. Yeah. Nice to explore that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
See you next time, everyone.
See you then. See ya. Bye. Hey, thank you for being a part of Navigating Life with Ease. We'd love to hear your feedback and receive a review on your favorite podcast platform. This will help others who'd also like more ease in their life to find us. We're here to support you, so if you've any words you'd like us to explore, or you've a question, please reach out to us at navigatinglifewithease@gmail.com. Again, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more episodes of Navigating Life with Ease.